Let's speak with Dale Vince, founder of Ecotricity, Green campaigner, Labour donor. And Dale, good afternoon to you. I mean, is this the day when you go, do you know what, I'm going to become a Tory?
Jesus. No, it's not the end of the world. We're not there yet.
It's a pretty grim time, though, isn't it, over there at number 10? Because, of course, you know, this goes to, you know, this is not a kind of, it's not a jokey matter in the sense of the subject, clearly. And it's about, really, a Prime Minister's kind of third eye, as it were, that ability to spot something coming round the corner and to act on it. You have it as somebody who runs a business. Our Prime Minister doesn't have it, and he's running the country.
But I think knowing that I nearly said Mandelstein, I keep joining their names up accidentally, but knowing that Mandelson had a relationship with Epstein, you think most people might have been a bit more cautious about appointing him. But the 3 million files were only released last week, which show the depth of that, not just the relationship, but also the wrong things that Mandelson was doing, abusing his position in a previous government. So I think that's all terribly shocking, but couldn't have been known. I don't think the Telegraph article that you mentioned just now exposed that. And so, you know, I think they went ahead despite his connections, and they should have been forewarned, really, I think, by the experience of the man formerly known as Prince Andrew, who, you know, about whom there was a steady drip feed of bad news. The royal family must have been suffering for years about this. I think they could have been warned by that experience, but they weren't. Yeah. But I do think that one head rolling is enough, McSweeney. I think we're at 3 now, actually, and the media's in a bit of a feeding frenzy. I think there's a lot of fuss in the Westminster bubble, in the media bubble about this, but I think most people just shrug and say, look, a mistake has been made. People have paid the price with their jobs, and we need to move on.
Yeah, but the head honcho is the Prime Minister, of course, Dale, isn't it? And, you know, this was information that was, you know, you could have actually Googled this stuff and worked out actually that Mandelson stayed at Epstein's flat while he was in jail for sex offences. While Mandelson was a Minister of State. He was kind of like the Deputy Private. So that was all known. So that wouldn't have even required, you know, the work experience in the civil service could have, you know, if Mr Starmer hadn't connected the dots, which can happen, I get that, but somebody would have told him, you thought. So he's responsible. McSweeney's walked the plank.
Yeah, well, three have walked the plank now. I was just looking at the news before I came on the show. Chris Wormald is negotiating his exit now after a peerage on the way out the door. I don't know how that works. But look, his relationship, or the fact that he had a relationship with Epstein was known, but the extent of it and the other things he did wasn't known. So there's a degree of bad judgment, but then there's a degree of this is a bombshell revelation, actually, 3 million files. And we haven't seen the last of it yet, not just on Mandelstein, but on all kinds of other people. I was just watching something on YouTube. A Democrat congressman has seen the unredacted version of the files and says there's a global network of sex trafficking that the FBI have the evidence on, and they've done nothing about it. I think there's a huge scandal yet to come out of this.
What do you think as a Labour supporter? And I know that, you know, because we've spoken about this lots over the years, that, you know, you kind of looked at the Green Party, looked at the Labour Party, felt, not unreasonably, but for the kind of policies that you think are important, the Labour Party were the only party that could deliver it. Ed Miliband at the helm, not everybody's cup of tea, but, you know, from a perspective of a Labour voter, that probably works. Now, I'm guessing that Starmer wouldn't have been your first choice as leader. So if he goes, then you might well get something that's more in keeping with what you think. Maybe Ed Miliband will return to the fold. Would that not be a good thing?
I never actually gave any thought to who should be leader of the party. Keir Starmer was, and I thought actually he'd made a good Prime Minister, possibly the best one we've had in a couple of decades when you look at the last 14 years of Tory rule. I think that's turned out to be right. He's been beset by some problems, not least on the global stage with Trump being re-elected and the Ukraine war flaring up and all that kind of stuff. I think he's handled that really well. Nationally, I think we've had some problems, some missteps, some U-turns. I don't always think U-turns are a bad thing. But I think overall, I would say this. I think Labour need to be more bold. They need to have tackled the cost of living crisis before now in more bold ways, like reforming the energy system. We get half our energy bills. They need to show people they're on their side, that Labour are on the people's side, not the big corporations. Let's get our cost of living down, because most people are shrugging and saying, what's changed in 18 months? And I can understand that.
But as a Labour donor, and I know you wear that as a badge of pride, you're not seeing your money going down the flipping drain, Dale. Is this not like, hang on a second, we've got this Starmer fella. It's just painful to watch this man limping from day to day. He's got members of his own cabinet who are plotting against him. Angela Rayner, who I know you're quite enamoured by as a political operator. You know, she said, I support Mr. Starmer. We know she doesn't really. Probably waiting to those May elections for stuff to happen there. I mean, you know, surely somebody else in the big seat is what you would ultimately like to see.
Starting at the beginning, I wear no badges of pride. The money I gave to Labour was to win the election, so that hasn't gone down the drain. That worked, let's say, or contributed. I think the leadership jostling that's going on is really unfortunate. I think anybody that's like seeing themselves in number 10 in the future and on manoeuvres should check themselves. They should put the country first, actually, not themselves over everything else. Because if we have a leadership challenge and we have a new leader of the Labour Party, then the next thing we'll hear from the media incessantly is that it's an illegitimate government and we need a general election. And I think the last thing this country needs right now is a general election. Keir Starmer is 18 months into a massive majority, an historic majority. He's got a mandate, he's got a manifesto, and he needs to be able to get on and deliver it.
But something we were talking about yesterday, Dale, was, and I feel quite strongly about this, when Corbyn was running Labour, it wasn't everybody's cup of tea, but I liked the idea that there was a left-wing party. It wasn't pretending to be anything else. It was a left-wing party. I thought that was good for democracy. You had the Tories over there. They were in a right flipping mess. And you had Jeremy Corbyn over here. Now, OK, he didn't go on to win, and he tried a couple of times. Ed Miliband didn't manage to win. But having a party that identifies unashamedly as a left-wing party, I think is good for democracy, which is why I mentioned the badge of pride thing, because I think that was, it wasn't a pejorative to point that out. It was the fact that proud left-wingers want to have a left-wing party.
Yeah, it's fair enough. And I didn't take it as a pejorative. It's just a feature of my makeup. I'm often asked what am I proud of and stuff like that. And I'm not proud of anything. I was only really just making sure that was kind of understood. But here's the thing. If you look at Reform, clearly a party of the right, Kemi Badenoch claims the Tories are further to the right than Reform. If you take that into consideration and you look at Labour, they are clearly the party of the left. They may not be as far left as Corbyn, but they're way, way more left than Reform and the new Tories.
We keep waiting for yesterday, not just on that point, Dale. Yesterday, Nigel Farage had a kind of like a press conference thing in Birmingham. And every week, of course, we wait for this new announcement of the person that's either crossed the floor or somebody who's moved to Reform from an unlikely background. I keep looking at the news. I keep searching Dale Vince. You know Nigel Farage very well. I know that you're, political enemies, but every time you've met, you've got on rather well together. Any chance you're the next Sarah Pochin has gone? The former Home Secretary Suella Braverman has gone. Dale Vince over there at Nigel Farage HQ. What do you think?
Well, I think, funnily enough, I had an email the other day. It's a circular email. It went to a lot of people, but it said, we're kind of building a party to address the political failure of our country. This is Reform speaking. And they're encouraging people to stand for them. I won't say I was tempted, but in the picture, there were 8 people, the MPs of the Reform Party. Half of them are defectors from the Tory party, the party that for 14 years ruined our country. And Nigel Farage presents Reform as recruiting people to fix the problems with politics, but half his party are the people that caused the current problems with politics. It made me laugh.
Didn't you get an email, again, probably a circular, asking if you wanted to either join Reform or campaign for them a couple of months back?
All of the time, there's something. But I don't mind that. I find it amusing. I am going to reach out to them, actually, because I saw that they recruited Ben Goldsmith recently to be their nature advisor. And I thought to myself, look, I could give these guys some energy policy advice. And I know they're against green energy, but I have a particular policy I want to kind of encourage them to look at, which is about protecting the North Sea oil and gas industry. We talked about it before, I think, certainly as a public thing. So I might reach out to them for that. And I think I might reach out to the Greens just to have a chat as well, because I think I'd like to share as far and wide as possible these energy reform ideas so that with any luck, every party, except maybe the Tories, I can't see that happening, might just pick up one element of it and say, hey, this is a good idea, we should do it. On the basis that the more parties have these kinds of policies, the more likely they are to happen.
We will see. It's not going to be dull, that's for sure. Dale, always good to speak. We will speak soon. Dale Vince, he is, of course, the founder of Ecotricity. He's got some interesting views, by the way, on North Sea oil. It's not the ones you might think he has, by the way. So, check those out for yourself. I won't go into the full detail, but they are there. Have a look at that. Do we need that? We've been asking the question about, has Britain become ungovernable? Do we need voices like Dale's to be, well, I wouldn't put it as far as advising reform, but would that for you be the perfect fit? So you might disagree with Dale on a gazillion other things, but if he's got something that Nigel Farage thinks, you know what, that could oddly actually work.